But like, I mean, you look at you've got animation, you've got game design, you've got film production, you've got the writing stuff. You can writing for TV, movies, video games. I they're all and they all seem interconnected because they all obviously are, entertainment. They'll all lead to some sort of project. You would hope,
Mhm.
on the big screen or the small screen. Um, when you're when students are doing those courses, do they blend together at all? Like, do they work on projects with another department to say, okay, well, let's put an animatic together, get our classic drawers to draw something, writer come up with a story. Does any of that happen, or is there, or even after, I suppose, when they graduate, I suppose there's some of that too.
It does. Yeah, it does on both ends. Yeah. And sometimes it's informal, which is sometimes even the most magical thing when just students meet each other and they kind of work together. But there are very formal ways in which we do that too. And I like to we joke around a lot. We're sort of like one of those studios in the 30s in Hollywood that has just like little departments, and you just go to the writing department and you go over here for your costumes. And that's how we kind of work. So if you're making a film in our film production program, you're working with the actors from the acting department, you're working with the writers from the writing department, you're working with the sound designers from the sound department, you're probably working with the makeup artists from our makeup department. If you have visual effects in your film, you're working with our visual effects students. So it's really, really cool how all those sort of intersect in many different ways. And here in the animation programs, of course, we have concept art, classical animation, and 3D animation, and we do some formal stuff, but it's really cool to see, because we're all on the same campus, some concept art for a visual effects project popping up, and you're like, oh, that's that concept artist from that class met that visual effects artist, and we kind of foster that intermingling just by being in the same space and running it much like a studio where everyone can kind of talk to each other. So although there are assignments and there are projects that are kind of limited to the constraints that we kind of need them to be under, that explodes out amongst the whole school. And then yeah, in terms of alumni, I mean, we have people coming back working on projects, we have people coming back as mentors. We see students who've gone on and made little independent companies as alumni who met each other at the school, and they'll bring in writers and effects artists and filmmakers from the different programs. So we're like a little petri dish of industry that sort of expands out over time, and we just kind of like mix together.
You could literally be putting together production teams of the future. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah,
exactly what could happen.
yeah,
Forming
for
friends
sure.
and bonds, and exploring their networks together. It's amazing. Um, my love is VR. And now I know,
Mhm.
it's probably not your department, but I'm sure you can tell me a bit about it.
Yeah.
So like VR and AR for me are very new technologies. From a gaming perspective, the games are better than you think they're going to be. They're more immersive than you think they're going to be, but there's not that many games, or they just seem to
Mhm.
be trickling. There's not enough money behind them or whatever. Do you see, so from a course perspective and students that are applying for those courses, is it popular? Is there a future there? Are there jobs there after that sort of course, do you think?
Yeah, I think VR AR is an interesting it finds itself in an interesting place amongst our whole industry, not just in entertainment, but in the enterprise world as well. So our VR AR program works a lot with the enterprise side of VR AR, meaning vehicle design. We've had students work with Tesla on some
Wow.
projects, a lot of previs type stuff, a lot of travel and tourism, training for medical field or the construction field or mining, which is huge out here in sort of Western Canada. So our approach to VR AR has been to sort of let VR AR naturally blend into our 3D world or our game design, but on its own, the training for it, a lot of these students are coming from other programs, are coming from other universities, and they're working on essentially case studies, working with industry directly on using VR AR as a problem-solving tool, as a training tool, as an integration tool. It's really, really exciting to see how that's working. We have had some students use VR AR here, especially VR in terms of previs, building worlds. We have integrated it a little bit with our relationship with our motion capture partner, Beyond Capture, which is one of the leading motion capture studios in Canada. They are in our basement, actually integrated into our film studios. They have a massive, beautiful studio down there. So our students use that space for mocap, but we have used VR AR in those instances as well to sort of blend that in. We've had students just do completely VR projects as well. So again, it's much like our philosophy here at VFS. across the board is there's a place for it in so many different aspects of what we do, that it's not just a filmed entertainment world, it's not just game industry, it's so many different places. And there's some exciting stuff that is being done in that. And what's really cool is you can take a game design student, or you can take a 3D student and have them work with VR artists who are essentially designing a VR experience. But of course, they need visuals, they need interactivity, they need UI design. And we have all those aspects at our school. So again, VR becomes almost like as if you're making a film. You rely on so many different artists to make it come to fruition, that we have all those artists at our disposal here at the school. So for us, VR AR is a growing thing. I think in terms of, like, as you mentioned, is there a lot of games out there right now? I know we had a huge sort of, for a couple of years, Oculus was like the big talk, and now we've got Apple Vision, which is sort of a different blend of VR AR, and
a different price range as well. I feel I don't
yeah,
know
and then exactly, now you're sort of talking about the sort of the industry side of it, which is like, can people afford this? Do people want it? So I think it's sort of finding its way, and really those developments will come out of finding something new. Like I know the whole music Saber game was like big. It's like perfect. What an entry point for really such a wide audience, right? And same thing with gaming in general. It's once you get that mass acceptance of it, then it'll move itself forward. So, but right now, what's exciting is it's still kind of like the Wild West. You can make anything. There's no rules. It's someone's going to find that moment where there's like a mass adoption of it for many different reasons. And obviously, you mentioned the affordability of it could be part of that issue and part of the solution. So it's just giving students an opportunity to try it. Accessibility is always such a major part of the growth of any industry. So once it's adoptable and accessible by a mass group of people, then that's when you start to see that forward movement happening.
It's definitely commendable that you're taking on something that's new and cool as well. It's definitely something that all the kids want to do. Absolutely, it's something I want to do. So it's amazing. I only have a couple of questions left, so just before I get into them, for anyone watching, any reviewers out there, if you like this stuff, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification. For Colin, absolutely go check out VFS, Vancouver Film School. It's a brilliant website. Watch the scissor reel. If you love gaming, you've got God of War, Ragnarok in there. You've got lots of cool games, lots of
Baldur's
people
Gate.
worked on Baldur's Gate's there. Yeah, all these amazing projects that graduates from your school have gone on to do. It's amazing. Taking it back just prior to VFS, your work in like TV and movies and stuff like that, have you got any kind of anecdotes or interesting celebrity meets that you might have had, or any funny stories for us?
I mean, there's a lot. I don't have enough time to fill you, and some of them I probably couldn't even tell you on a platform like this. It's been really wild. I think for me, maybe this is more of a romantic thing, but I have been able to meet a lot of artists that I've respected as a young artist, and as in college, and then being a new professional. This job in particular has actually brought me closer to the industry than actually being in the industry itself. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of public speaking. I've worked with the TED Group, and I've worked with different conferences around the world. So I've been able to travel a lot, all across Asia and South America as well, which has been super exciting. And I feel very sort of blessed that's been my part of my journey and being a cartoonist. But I think for me, like I've been able to meet just really, really amazing people. I know in school I looked up to an animator, Glenn Keane, who's kind of a master of what he does and has gone on to win Oscars and stuff. And you just get those moments where you're at an event, and you not only just get to shake their hand and say thank you, but you find yourself having a meal with them, or you're at a table with 3 or 4 other artists that you look up to, and you're just like, I can't believe I'm here. You hear those stories a lot of that type of thing. So whether it's being able to work with artists like that, I've just worked with some incredible people, talented people, directors, other artists, been inspired by new artists who's come in and worked. So for me, I've been able to meet some celebrity type people that a lot of people might know, but for me, meeting artists that I've really looked up to has been, and building personal relationships with them has been a really cool blessing. Met my wife in animation, so there's that's a celebrity sighting. But I think for me, when I look back, it's the moment of realizing, like, just the passion that all of the people I've worked with put into this industry, and being able to work with people like that is such a gift. And so that's my romantic answer, is like just the whole journey itself has become this amazing ride of building relationships and learning from people and just becoming a better artist and a better person because of it.
Oh, lovely answer. I like that you have more admiration for people within the industry and their work more so than somebody with a celebrity status and stuff.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool. So last question. We are a gaming website, as you know, Outsider Gaming. I don't know if you game or not, but can you tell me what maybe you haven't in years, maybe you do every day? I don't know, but what is your all-time favorite game, or what game you may be playing at the moment?
Well, I have a son who's right around that nice video game age of 8 years old, so he's finding all the games. And what's been great is it's tying me back to my original entryway into gaming, which was Super Mario Brothers 3. My favorite game of all time, and I can still play it. I play it okay. But what's awesome is I now have my son building games in Super Mario Maker, and
Oh
me
yes,
playing those
yes,
levels. Yeah,
yeah.
love that kind of stuff. I love puzzle games. I love even some of the apps that my youngest son uses are really cool, like little interactive games. I obviously worked in Disney Interactive, so I worked in games for a while in that regard, and I've always had such a high respect for the gaming world. And although I don't play, I mean, I've gone through phases, where back in the day, Civilization and Sims and all those kind of games, but I didn't adopt the whole console gaming world. I'm a Canadian, so if I do ever find myself on a console, I'm probably playing an NHL hockey game.
Yeah,
And it's so cool that they're made down the street here in Vancouver at EA Sports. So yeah, that's my I'm sort of being re-energized into the gaming world because of my
because your
sons.
sons.
And yeah, and they're getting real into it. So yeah, I'm kind of like finding all these, and then what's cool is I get to opinionize now about it, like, oh, that new Disney Illusion Island game, that's cool, that's like a puzzle game, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to see Fortnite and you're like, oh, okay, I have no idea what's going on. We actually we had a tournament at our school for our students a couple weeks ago. It was a Super Smash Brothers tournament,
Yes.
and we had like 30 people in it. It was in the theater. It was a wild time. And it took me at least 4 or 5 rounds of the tournament to really understand what I was looking at. And I felt very old, and I didn't want to come off like that. Well, in my day, but I'm just trying to embrace it. But yeah, I've always been such a cartoon fan that my free time, my sort of envelope into that was watching old cartoons and working with, in that realm. So the gaming side of it was always like on the periphery for me. But now as a father of 2 young boys, I'm going to have to jump into it. So.
Well, a recommendation from me to kind of cover all your bases would, especially with Disney, like Disney Dreamlight Valley is out,
Oh,
and
yes.
it's pretty good. Like even for a grown up, you're playing it with the kid. It's like they're going to bed and I'm still playing.
That's
Um,
right. Keep going. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a farm sim, crafting, but you're meeting all the characters. And it's all a big
Right.
story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, it's great for the kids and good for Disney. But this has been brilliant. You have been amazing. Again, I really want to plug VFS. I was blown away. The website, even just you could spend 10 seconds on the website and you're hooked, because there are so many cool things going on, so many brilliant courses. And just as I said, like the bragging rights on some of the projects that guys have gone to work with is just absolutely amazing. So well done, and thank you for today. You've been brilliant.
Thank you, Paul. And just a reminder to any viewers out there who do love games, you can actually download some of our student games that are made at the program. If you go to VFS website, vfs.edu, on the game design program page, there's something called Arcade, and you can go down and download some of the award-winning games that our students have made. There's a couple over the last few years that have won the Unity Game of the Year, and they're just really highly playable, highly addictive in a good way. And so yeah, I encourage you to connect with us in that way. It's not just looking at stuff. You can interact with us as well through all kinds of different means, and our why not play our own games off our VFS Arcade.
It's amazing. We'll make sure we stick the link in the end of the video description as well. Brilliant. Thanks a million, Colin. Great to see you.
Thanks so much, Paul. Appreciate it. And yeah, all the best, and look to connect with you again in the future.
Cheers.